So have you ever wondered how the pros make breaks so effortlessly? Today I'm going to go through some of the main topics that how they put their breaks together properly, and a few key areas that you can really work on to take your breaks to the next level. So these few topics, I don't think enough is spoke about really. A lot of people obviously speak about the potting and the aiming or the cue ball control, but we're going to look at maybe a few of that little things that can really make your decisions even clearer and just make your breaks, like I say, that little bit easier. So whether you're practicing on your own or if you're even playing a game against somebody, obviously the start of a break is really important. So quite often in my lessons, I'm seeing that people's break building is going wrong even from the very first shot. So what we're going to look at here is just, I've got a couple of reds in the black, and what a lot of people are doing is playing maybe a stun shot here on the red to play for the black, and sometimes the cue ball will be finishing. That's actually not too bad of an angle there on the black, but quite often they're landing in this straight zone here on the black. So the problem is when we start playing snooker, it's a difficult game. So it's good if even we pot a red and a black, and we'll be happy with that. So what we do basically is we get used to playing around these areas quite straight on the black, because then the pot's easier. But then what's happening is obviously it's making the next positional shot a lot harder. So if I was again straight on this black, either side of the table, and that was my next red, I would have to play obviously like maybe a deep screw shot off the cushion for the red. And now I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I can do that fine, but you're just basically making the shot a bit harder. Yes, the pot's a bit easier, but we need to try and make the positional side a bit easier also. So there's a bit of a trade-off basically between how easy or difficult the pot is going to be, and then how easy the positional play is going to be. So what we're looking for on this shot, I would say, is generally on the black, we want to be slightly low on the black. So then we could play basically loads of different shots from here. I can play a little stun shot across there for the red. From that same angle, I can play a little soft screw shot. I've got the red into the same corner, and then even if I wanted to do something a little bit different again, I could play a top spin to come off the cushion, and I would be on the red again into this corner, you see. So just by getting that first shot right, so we need to make sure I've got a nice angle on the black. All of a sudden, we're making the next shot easier to get on the red, but then the red's going to be easier and better to hopefully get back to the black. So if you're playing for a low black, I think one of my little rules is, when I was practicing growing up, was I don't really want the cue ball to finish below what I call like parallel on the black across this straight line here, because then what's starting to happen is we're starting to tip the balance the other way, where the pot is getting too difficult and the positional side of the shot is getting really difficult as well. So we don't want to be below that. If we're just about parallel or just above it, I think that's about perfect, where we've got a nice angle. We don't have to play with too much spin or power to get the cue ball nicely on the red, like I showed you before. Obviously similar on a high black, I would always work off, if the cue ball was in the middle of the table there between the pink and black, and then I came back about halfway to the cushion, that would be my target area for the black, high black. And then once again, I could play quite a few different shots from this position to come off the cushion and be on the next red. So again, you've got to be, I sometimes say you've actually got to be a little bit more brave sometimes to actually have that shot selection, to choose to play for more angles, because it's really going to benefit your obviously break building to keep the break going and let the cue ball do more of the work just naturally, rather than having to play with a lot of power and spin. Okay, so just to give you a little scenario here, we've got a few reds on the table, and I'm looking at I'm on the black and how I can play my next shot. And also what I'm going to start looking at is, can I be on maybe more than one red at the same time? So I'm thinking if I could obviously come back this way across the table, but I've got a couple of reds on the table that are slightly in the way. So it's basically making this side of the table, my margin for error, a lot smaller, which I don't really want to do. If I'm doing break building, like I say again, in a routine or even playing a frame against somebody, I'm trying to play it into a slightly bigger area, and also where I can be on, like I say, multiple reds. So if I play, like I say, a screw shot this way, it's going to be really tight. But if I play a stun shot across to that side of the table, up towards, I often talk about playing up towards like the pink line, then I'll have that red into this corner, but also I'd have this red into the middle pocket here. So if I play, like I say, little soft stun shot across there towards the pink line, then like I say, I'm on two reds, so I'm basically giving myself choices all the time. That's what I'm looking out for. So if, let's just say I played that shot and it goes a little bit wrong as well, so let's say I stun that cue ball. I'll try and give you a little example here. So if I play that shot again and we're not quite perfect, so let's say I stun that a bit too much, all right, then it's going higher up the table, then I might decide that this red is a little bit better. So I'm just giving myself, like I say, more options, and I don't have to be actually perfect. It's opening the table, so I've got more choices. We've added a few more reds to the table, starting to get a bit more congested. But again, we're going to be looking for the right shot, where I think if we play the cue ball on a certain line, we can be on maybe even 3 or 4 reds here in one shot. So first thing I talked about earlier was I've got my angle on the black. That's the first thing I've got. So I know I can move the cue ball around quite easily. And then now I'm going to be looking for, like I say, that shot selection and the shot choice that is going to hopefully give us a few different choices. So when I'm walking around the table like this, I'm having a look at, when I come to this corner pocket, I'm having a look at if any of these balls go into this corner pocket. And you can see there that it's really congested and there's not much goes at all into this corner. So when I've come to this corner pocket, I can see that obviously this one would go. I've got a little bit of traffic here, but also this red obviously would go into here, and this red would go. So my brain's telling us that if I can play the cue ball from the black here and either play a cannon into these reds or even come through this gap, I'm going to have a choice of probably 4 reds I'm looking at. So I'd have this one in the corner. I could have that one in the middle if I go a bit further. Even if I go a bit further again, I would have these 2 into this corner. So all of a sudden what I'm doing there is, which I think's really important as well, is I've decided what I'm going to do standing up, and my thought process and my shot now is really clear what I'm trying to do. I think sometimes, obviously it can be difficult seeing this kind of stuff, but a lot of people are playing the black and they're still half thinking about what's my cue ball doing, what's my cue ball doing. I would much rather you commit to one shot fully. If it goes a bit wrong, it goes a bit wrong, but try not to be still making your mind up on the shot. So we've got a nice angle on the black, so I'm going to try and play the shot just to play a little soft cannon on these 2 reds. So you can see there, I got a slight cannon on it, on the balls, and it's still worked out absolutely fine. So I didn't get a full ball cannon, but I've got the red into the middle. And then also what I've actually done there is I've just nudged the two reds enough to make this red potable as well. So all of a sudden, I've got that red you can see there. I could just pot that and actually roll through for the black. Whereas before as well, them two reds weren't potable. So just in one shot there, I've played into a bigger area and I've actually developed the two balls that didn't even go. So to me, this is the kind of stuff in break building that I do, like I say, in lessons all the time. And like I say, I know it can be quite hard to see, but once you can start, like I say, opening these things up a bit, your break building can definitely go to another level. I would say one of the other biggest things I want you to look out for is, and again, this happens, I think, nearly in every lesson I do about break building, is probably slightly under hitting your shots. So what I mean is, if I'm on this, I've got the same setup here on the black, and we've talked about the area that we're going to play into. Basically, from that position, the only thing that can go wrong is under hitting the shot. You seen before that I overhit the shot and I was still absolutely fine, and I still had a choice of reds. So if we play that and underhit it, all right, then basically we're just in the middle of nowhere really, or we're going to have a very hard shot rather than an easy shot. So the amount of times that I see a break end because of the cue ball basically not finishing higher on the reds is like unbelievable, because then it just snowballs from there. So even if I finished okay and I come back to there and I've still got that red in the corner pocket, then I'm trying to pot that. Me cue ball all of a sudden is going into that reds, and then it's end of break quite often. Whereas if I'm a bit more aggressive in getting the cue ball higher up, you can guarantee most of the time that's going to be better. I remember watching like Ding Junhui once in the practice room at a tournament, and this is going back a long time. You learn so much from watching these players, and the reason Ding is one of the best break builders ever is because he would land high on the reds and just let the cue ball come off the natural angle, maybe off the bottom cushion and back up for the black with just really like minimum effort, and not playing with loads of power or spin. He's just letting the cue ball do the work, but leaving himself the right side of the reds every time so you get back to the black. Right, so this time we're going to look at a bit more of a routine, but basically going over the few topics that I've spoke about already. So first one is obviously, when we're doing a routine, we can obviously place the cue ball anywhere we want with our hand. So that first shot, how you set that up, is going to almost dictate what happens on the next, obviously the black, and then how we get on the next red as well. So the plan is on this shot is to pot this red, come back for a high black, again what I said earlier, into this area. So I've got a nice angle, and then come off the cushion and back up the other side of the table. What's also really common is people get in this position and it can go wrong from the start because they're playing a stun shot, maybe down for a low black. And then from there, what they're doing is they're risking that the cue ball can come off that red and then start going lower or even too low, which we said earlier, we don't want to be going below that parallel line really. And if we go even lower than that, obviously again we're making the pot a lot harder, but also we're making the cue ball control tougher as well, because now after I pot that black, the cue ball, it's going to be difficult to get it just past that red to be perfect on it. So then what people do is just roll that black in, and then the cue ball ends up probably on the side cushion. This is the kind of stuff I'm seeing all the time, like I see it in lessons. Because what I like to do as well is I always let people have, a few goes at a certain routine, and see what they're doing and where it's going wrong. And quite often, to be honest with you, it can, like I say, come from the very first shot. So after all that, let's see if I can actually do what was said, which is not easy, but at least I've got a plan in my head of what I want to try and do. So slight angle, and I'm just going to try and come back a little bit for a high black. So it's come back over, not too bad. It's not quite perfect, so I'll probably want to be, and this is the game, this is why snooker is so hard. It's just like fractions. I probably wanted my cue ball to be about there, if I'm honest with you. So that it's nothing really if you look at the difference. It's one cue ball width over, but that's the difference and why this game is so difficult. I've got to make now little adjustments to play this shot. So it's going to be still off one cushion, but a bit more of a sort of stun run through shot to get high on the reds. So the other bit that I just spoke about before again is trying to be a bit more aggressive in slightly what I call, maybe might even feel like you're over hitting the shot. So you come off the cushion, and I've come to this corner pocket again, what we did earlier, and you can see that red just goes into here, and obviously I've got the bottom one as well. So I'm trying to be always higher, so I've got a choice of them two reds. If you play off the black and play for that red, then guess what? Quite often you're going to finish down here in too low, and that's when problems start coming from. So that again, we're playing that bigger area and we're trying to be a bit more aggressive, and I've had a look at everything first. We've played through to that side of the table, and again, if I could have had the cue ball finish anywhere, I would have wanted it about there. So I'm not perfect, but because I've played to get up here, and I've tried to keep a bit, like I say, a bit aggressive with a shot, I've still got the bottom one, no problem, to get back on the black. So again here, shot selection, I'm looking at the angle and I'm thinking what's my easiest shot, and this time I'm going to try and just stun across, and this time I'm probably going to try and leave it slightly low on the black, because again, if I come and stand at this pocket, I know that once I take this red away, that one is going to go into this side as well. So I'm always, my coach used to say to me when I was younger, try and get into a good habit of walking and chalking, and that's a little thing that's stuck in my head. And you're not just looking on the table at, like, you know, just random balls. You're actually looking at what goes next, because sometimes what happens again a lot when people are break building is they try and just work everything out from standing in one place. So if I'm standing here, I can't exactly tell if that red ball passes that red into that corner pocket. It's hard to tell because it's quite congested, especially during a frame. So like I say, you could go around the pocket side and have a look, or you can actually go, even if you wanted, all the way around the other side of the table and look to see if the red goes. Again, you're seeing the professionals do this all the time. So stun shot for the black. So come across, and that is just okay. So you see, I was saying before about the parallel, I'm just a fraction above it this time. So I would say that's fine. In this time, it's going to be a soft stun shot up for this red. But this time, because I've obviously got less reds, this time I can only play for one red really. So nice stun shot, controls. So you can see how soft I can hit that, and the angle has done a lot of the work for us. Right, so we've played that pretty much perfect. So we've got a nice little angle on the red here. And from this position, again, my target is going to be for a high black. But also now there's the possibility of having the pink in the middle. So, you know, when you're practicing, try not to be just like, have this tunnel vision that we're going to just play blacks all the time. I know that's what we want to try to do, but we don't have to do it. And it's the same on different parts of the table. Try and play, you know, the easier shot. Don't go chasing points and the white going around the table all over the place just to try and get down for pink or black. It might be easier, you know. I say a lot of times in lessons, sort of take your medicine. Just accept the shot you've got and try and keep it simple. So you might have to play, obviously, the blues or even ball colours sometimes. It can be, you know, can be the right shot, and just because it's less points doesn't mean you need to avoid it. So this time, like I say, little soft stun back for high black or a pink in the middle. So the cue ball's not doing much work at all. So as soon as I pot that, I'm coming round to see what angle I've got on the pink as well. And obviously from this side of from here, that angle's not very good because I'm on the wrong side of the pink. If I was going to be nicely on the pink, I would be that side of it. So if I could just roll that through and be on them two reds, but I'm on the wrong side. So we're going to play the black again. But I've got a nice angle just to run up the other side of the table. And again, I know I said this earlier, but you've got to try and play for the top red, I think, as much as you can in this position. I don't think this bit of break building's probably spoke about enough. You know, you see, again, next time you're watching the professionals on the TV, if you watch them when they're walking around the table and looking at the shots and they maybe have a little grimace on the face or they're not too happy, it's because of these little things I'm seeing. Either not a good angle on the black or the finish wrong side of the reds. So it's a nice run through off the cushion. Nice pace, run up the table. And you can see there that, I mean, I'm banging between the two reds really. So I could play either one. But again, because I've actually played for that one, and I'm actually a tiny bit short of where I want to be, so maybe I need to practice a bit more. I can still just play the bottom one and go through the same basically sort of sequence again. Come back, high black or pink in the middle, using the cushion or pink for the last red. Right, so there we go. A few other different sort of topics around break building that you might not have heard before, or like I say, some stuff I think's not really spoke about enough, and these things are definitely coming up a lot in my coaching lessons. So as usual, I hope you find that, you know, useful, and hopefully in no time you might be making, you know, 50 or even 100 breaks. You never know. Give it a practice. Obviously, let us know, as usual, in the comments what you think, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to see future content.